Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. I'm Bill.
I'm Linda.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Chris.
I'm Stu.
And Stu's looking a little terrified because we're going to be talking about Cocaine Bear in our first episode. And Chris and Jenna and Stu, I think the three of you went together to see that on Friday night. Am I right?
We
Yes.
did. It was a trip.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Well, who wants to start off with a little synopsis for us?
Yeah. I can do that, actually.
Okay.
So just so people are aware, this is very loosely based off a true story. And it's basically about a bear that consumed a duffel bag of cocaine from a drug dealer that was flying over part of the U.S., dumps a bunch of bags of cocaine, and a bear comes by and eats it up, and then chaos kind of ensues after that. So what I enjoyed about the film is in the beginning, and Stu, you can kind of talk to this if you saw it. They kind of showed, I guess they were original clips of the investigation at the time when it started. And then they kind of start from there. So they start with these old television clips talking about this man who fell out of a plane, his parachute didn't go out, and that's kind of where the movie begins. It's the search for this cocaine.
In 1985.
Yes.
Oh, so it takes place in 1985?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I heard it was based on a true story, and that the difference is in the true story, the bear died from an overdose of cocaine. So, Stu, you look pretty horrific there. You want to tell us what you thought, or?
Going back to the true story aspect of it. What happened was back in '85. Yeah, those are the days, man. Yeah, that's cocaine everywhere. Those are the coke 80s, man. Yeah, we well, some of us weren't there, but Bill, you were there. You know what I'm talking about.
Stu, you didn't happen to run into a bag of cocaine before the show, did you?
If he starts itching, I'm gonna wonder.
It's been a hell of a week, and there's some shit I can't talk about. Okay. All right. So what we did, So what happened in real life? And Chris is right. It was Tom Brokaw was covering this thing the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Tom Brokaw is a featured player in Cocaine Bear. Okay, you can't do Cocaine Bear without Tom Brokaw. But what happened in real life, I was a little disappointed when I saw the movie. A little bit was that this guy is smuggling cocaine in from the Bahamas. Okay, he's coming in from Latin America with his buddy in the plane, and somehow he gets a radio that's locked on. I'm not making this up. It's a radio. It's locked onto the customs service channel, and he hears that he's being trailed by a customs plane. He's like, okay, the jig is up. So we've got to ditch the coke. His buddy has no idea there was coke in the plane. He gives his buddy a parachute and says, you got to go. And he shoves his buddy out the plane. Buddy survives. No innocents are killed in cocaine in the real story. Okay. So he shoves his buddy out. Buddy survives. This guy, straps as much coke to himself as he possibly can, and a parachute. He'd been a paratrooper in Nam. He knew what he was doing. He's also wearing Gucci loafers. That's another story. He dumps all the coke he can't strap to himself. He dumps out into what's turns out to be Chattahoochee National Forest. And then he sets the plane on autopilot, ends up crashing into a mountain in North Carolina. By that time, though, he's bailed out. Problem is, in the movie, they have him bumping his head and not be knocked unconscious so he can't deploy chute. In real life, they think this guy, he was always cocky as a paratrooper. He got a little cocky and released the chute a little late. And instead, he ends up splattered on the driveway of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient in Knoxville. That's the honest.
I guess if you have to go that way, land in a driveway of somebody who's not going to remember it.
Not going to be overly traumatized.
Right.
That's how I want to go. I got it all planned out too. Okay. Yeah, that's a true story. Meanwhile, there's a load of cocaine and it's somewhere out in the forest in North Georgia. Nobody has any idea where it is. Months later. Okay, you want me to continue to tell this true story? You're going to go back to the movie.
No,
keep going.
It's a true story. Yeah.
True story. Well, a true story gets a little anticlimactic. Well, no, there's a whole other climax. Okay, it involves legendary country music stars. So this kid is out hiking in the forest, and he comes upon this duffel bag. This looks a little weird. There's some packages here that looks like they've been torn open. He goes, tells the ranger about it. The ranger says, "We've been told to be on the lookout for these duffel bags. He's got cocaine in them." They go out in the woods. Well, they find all the duffel bags. They find all the packages. And about 100 yards from this mass of torn open duffel bags and packages, they find a black bear. Dead as a doornail. They do a necropsy on the black bear. The black bear has eaten over 70 pounds of cocaine.
Oh my God.
The veterinarian doing the necropsy, I'm not making this up, said it is impossible to tell the actual cause of death of the bear because every system in that bear had failed. He's got cerebral hemorrhage. He's got a stroke. He's got a heart attack. His kidneys are shot to hell. That's the lesson, kids. Don't do coke. It will mess you up every conceivable way.
Well, at least 70 pounds of it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, dosage is important. Yeah.
So
Nancy Reagan told us that. It all evens out in the end.
So where Cocaine Bear deviates from that is instead of having a boring story where anticlimactic, not boring, but having that kind of ending.
Okay, I'll figure this in about a minute. The kicker is they taxidermy the bear because of course you do.
Yeah.
The bear ends up being owned, I'm not making this up, by Waylon frigging Jennings. He keeps it in his personal trophy case for years.
Does he title it Cocaine Bear?
Yes. Well, Cocaine Bear, a.k.a. Pablo Escobear.
Right.
That's the name of the bear, which wouldn't work in the movie for reasons Chris can get to. But anywho, they take the... Swear to God, it's absolutely true. Eventually, the bear today, to this very day, stands in a tourist trap in Lexington, Kentucky, called the Kentucky for Kentuckians Fun Mall. And it greets you as you open the door, wearing a University of Kentucky hat.
Huh.
Yeah, we actually met some people that were talking to us about that at the theater that night. They even had like a shirt that said Cocaine Bear on it and everything like that, and they encourage
Don't do drugs.
to visit it sometime. Yeah, don't do drugs kind of shirt. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was a bear shirt, right? It just said BE instead of dare, it was bear.
Yeah.
So that was pretty great. So, but yeah, so that's the true story, right? That's what happened. Where Cocaine Bear deviates, we'll say, is what if that bear hadn't died? What would the trip be for a black bear? And
If
one
it
of the
knew
cool
enough, so you're saying if it knew enough to do cocaine in moderation.
this was no
This bear was
moderation.
not in moderation.
Oh,
This is like what if cocaine just didn't outright kill you, right?
oh, okay. All right.
What would a bear behave like? What would a bear be like? And that just scene of at one point, the bear is just like getting the whiff of it in the air. Whenever it smells it, this bear goes nuts. One of the cool things is in the very beginning, they have like this tongue-in-cheek comment of, if it's a black bear fight, if it's a brown bear play
No.
dead or something like that.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, and then it says source Wikipedia, like just right there in the screen, like because Wikipedia says so.
Yeah, right.
And there's a couple people, this couple that's hiking through the forest in the very beginning, and they hike to this peak and they look down and they see this bear that's kind of acting weird, and as the guy's looking at it through the binoculars, he's like, it must be demented or something, because the bear's over here slamming its head up against a tree. And then all of a sudden the bear sees them and turns on them. So then they have that debate, do we run or do we fight? And he's like, no, we have to fight it. It's a black bear. Instead, his girlfriend or wife, I couldn't tell at the time. I know they were talking about kids, but anyway, she ends up running, and that's when chaos ensues, and a lot of people die. I'll just say that.
There's a lot of collateral damage in this movie.
There's a lot of collateral damage. So, but the story of Cocaine Bear was actually pretty interesting because it brought in a few different groups that all end up combining together, merging together as they try to avoid this bear. You have the kids that want to go to this, I forget what they call it, this waterfall place they wanted to go visit. So instead of going to school that day, they're going to skip school and go on their own and hike through this forest area to get there. You have the drug cartel guys that want the cocaine that they, misplaced in the forest. You have the mom that's trying to find those kids, and you have the park rangers, who is a whole other interesting thing of themselves. But you have this whole, this trek of people going in trying to accomplish something, and there's a cocaine bear running around on the loose. And I thought they did a pretty okay job for a made-up story of how everyone kind of comes together in this.
Huh.
It's like Jaws on land.
Yeah, it's kind of like Jaws on land.
With cocaine on land.
Yeah, Jaws with cocaine, but a bear on land. It's a pretty good way to put it. Now
I kind of want to see Jaws with the shark on cocaine.
Yeah.
Right? What would that be like?
Great.
Yeah.
I think that was called. They did that movie probably. It was like The Meg or something like that with Jason Statham.
Yeah.
That was kind of like a shark on cocaine. But yeah, so the movie took a pretty comical route to the storytelling here, and it was a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be honest.
Yeah.
The comedy aspect of this, despite a scary bear running around ripping people to shreds, was top notch. They had really, really good jokes in here, alongside what I thought was pretty okay storytelling, even down to the far-fetched stuff like this bear chasing down an ambulance. You could tell it was definitely heavily CG'd, and no bear, I'm going to say this and someone's probably going to prove me wrong, can run that fast. But the whole way that this scene plays out is actually pretty interesting, and you could guess it, right? So at one point, the park ranger gets injured, and she's holed up in her office there, and through some kind of scuffle, they manage to lock the bear in a closet, or at least trap the bear in a closet. And when the medics show up for what they thought was like a head injury or something like that, they find bodies everywhere. There's a dead body on the floor. He's been shot. We'll get into that. And one of the medics, just stupidly so, goes and opens the door, sees a head in a bucket and blood pooling out. And it's like, yeah, I would have not have opened the door with blood that was coming out through the bottom of the door. I would never open it. No, he opens it. Go ahead, Stu.
Except the thing is, though, dude, he's an EMT. Okay, he's there to save lives.
Yeah, he's got to go towards the.
He's got to go toward. You're a first responder, man. You've got to go toward the danger. That's the problem.
His reaction was the best, though, right? So he opens the door, and then as he looks in the corner, he sees the bear, and so then he just nonchalantly nopes out. Right? I'm just gonna back up, take the door, slowly shut it, and think that he's just gonna get away from it. It was like, you didn't see me. There's nothing
Right.
missing here. I'm just going to shut the story.
I was
in the
here.
closet. Right. I wasn't here. Nope. There was just a
Take
ton
that
of
didn't work
stuff.
out for him.
Yeah, no, that didn't work out for it. It didn't work out for any of them, right? So when they managed to get into the ambulance and start driving away, and then comes the getaway chase. And yeah, so that's the mom, by the way. She's the mom that goes after to go find her kids. This scene was interesting too. We should come back to this. But yeah, and the ambulance scene it was great. It was probably one of my favorite scenes because then they start to try and get away, and this bear starts chasing them down the road. And it's like, really, this ambulance can't outrun this bear? But it was just kind of comical because eventually the bear gets in there and just decimates everybody.
Right.
And
While
then
you were talking, Chris, I looked up and I found a site called themeateater.com. And according to them, black bears can reach a top speed of 30 miles an hour.
Okay, you know what? They were moving about 30 miles an hour, so it is on cocaine. Push that up to 40, 45, maybe?
Easy.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay. All right.
You
Like I said,
should've
someone
seen me run
might
back in
prove me wrong. That's pretty damn fast.
That is fast. Yes.
Damn.
For a big
All right,
bear.
now I'm even more scared to come across a bear in the wild because I don't know that I could beat a 30-mile-per-hour pace of a bear.
I couldn't.
Holy smokes.
What was speaking to the comedy, it's all these great little quips that you as an audience would say, like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
And the character inside one of the characters inside of the scene will do the same thing. So like, for example, this was one of the little kids, he got scared, he had run up because him and his friend had seen the cocaine bear. And then this wildlife specialist sees the bear, gets freaked out, runs up the tree across from him. He's like, don't worry. You'll be safe. And he's like, the kid was like, well, don't bears climb trees? He's like, yes. And then the kid's like, well, why are you in the tree? And the guy like,
Right. And that bear
Yeah.
does climb a tree. Like, holy smokes.
That's realistic, by the way. One thing you have to point out here about the bear's motivation through this, okay? This is not a random killing machine. The bear, coked up as he may be, or she may be, it turns out. That's another story. There is motivation here. What triggers the bear is either if it can smell cocaine, or, this is very important, if it sees a red duffel bag.
Yeah.
Because
this bear has learned.
lobbying condition.
Yep, red duffel bags.
The bear has learned to associate the red duffel bag with something awful good.
So now I'm curious if bears see in color.
I think a lot of predators can only see in black and white, except they see red.
It says here, studies
like with
indicate
bulls or
that
whatever?
bears do see in color.
Okay.
Tests with black bears
bear-
and polar
this bear
bears
did.
indicate that they can see color. Huh.
Right. Yeah. So that's what this poor hiker that got mauled. It's because she had a red duffel bag. The EMTs, of course, as you know from your extensive studies, EMTs carry these red packs.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, the EMT is like, bear sees that, is like, here I am, baby.
Yep.
Okay.
There's in the tree scene that we're looking at earlier, where we had the mother and the bear that was right next to it. The bear doesn't give a crap about her. She doesn't have cocaine or anything. Bear starts to climb the tree, where the other guy that was in the other tree was covered in cocaine because he came across one of the stashes while they were trying to escape and ends up getting it covered in him. Well, a gust of wind comes by or whatever, and the bear gets a whiff of it, immediately jumps down from that tree, starts crawling up the other one to get the other guy. And the only reason he's eating him up is because he's got, like Stu said, he's covered in cocaine. He's got what he needs, right?
Yeah.
So, every encounter, I want to say, with the bear, thinking about it, did the bear really, other than the first couple, the bear never really attacked anyone unless there was cocaine immediately involved or around them, right?
Cocaine or red duffel bag.
Yes, cocaine or red duffel bag, right?
Yes.
Which makes me wonder, so they were like fiancés traveling for their wedding. Did she have a red backpack?
Yeah, I was trying to think back. If she had a red backpack, that would have been why.
Yes, she did. They showed that very prominently.
All right. Yeah, so there was, they don't really lead onto that trend until later on. So now, as we're reflecting back on the movie, the first person that got attacked, did she have the red duffel bag? And she did. So that would explain why they kind of set that trend there.
Oh yes, yeah. Okay, there is a plot twist. Is it okay if I reveal this now?
Yeah.
We've already alluded to it. The plot twist is, and was discovered in a very harsh physical way about halfway through the movie, is unlike the real story. This is actually the main difference from the true story. The bear is a female. If you know anything about males and females in the wild and the human race, females are much more geared towards self-preservation. If you're working life insurance, men live on average 8 years less than women do. So it's a lot harder to kill a female. So that's how the bear survived.
Yeah, this scene here is perfect. What we have up on the screen, and this is the bear that eventually decides that I'm going to take a nap here and sleep on this guy.
I feel like
passed out.
Had a moment where
blacks out, whatever you want to call it. They thought maybe the bear just up and died. But at some point, at this, they had always assumed this bear was a he, and it's not until this guy gets crushed and they're like, well, how do you know it's a, he says it's a she, while in a muffled voice while he's being crushed by this bear, and like, well, how do you know? Because its vagina is like bumping up against my head or something. Like that. Yeah, it's pretty comical.
So, Jenna, you like it?
Yeah. So there were way more jump scares than I would have expected. I would have expected maybe like one or two, just because it's being cheesy.
A few of those, yeah.
But there was a lot of jump scares in this. I didn't expect it to be this gory too. Not that offends me, but like between the jump scares and the goriness, and like there were several times I was like deep in my seat, like, oh no. I think at one point even Stu looked back at me like, are you okay? I'm like, blood's going everywhere.
Yeah, we're on the goriness, like even to the point where someone's intestines get ripped out, and they're pretty detailed about it.
Huh.
But like they do, between the comedy and the storytelling and the dialogue, it's pretty well done. Like I was impressed.
Nice. So you guys all give it 2 thumbs up?
Two paws?
Yeah, for sure.
2 paws up?
2 paws? Yeah.
All right. Nice. Well, we will definitely be checking that out. We wish we could have met you guys on Friday.
It's one of the greatest feminist films of the last 20 years.
What's that?
It's one of the greatest feminist films of the last 20 years. All the bear wants to do is protect his family
and give it cocaine
and do a lot of cocaine.
Makes sense.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
it actually is.
Before we jump out of here, we wanted to turn it over to Chris. He wants to talk about Bastardi.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Bastard. Bill calls it Bastardi. So there's an interesting thing about the title. So this is an anime that was released last year that I came across. We haven't talked about animes or waifus for that matter for a while, but there's 2 exclamation points in the name. Anyways, this is exactly as it shows there, a heavy metal dark fantasy, and it's very it's a horny anime. It is definitely heavy metal, really great soundtrack in my opinion. But it's basically about a wizard that gets sealed away in a boy's body, and the way that they're going to reincarnate him, he's basically to be released when they need him the most. But they weren't on good terms when they sealed this guy away. So what they end up doing is sealing away this wizard. This wizard, to give him some context, was evil at the time and had a conquest to basically take over the world. And the only way they were able to defeat him, so to speak, is to seal his soul away. So they did the best they could do and apparently sealed it away in a little boy. And the only way to release him from this boy is to be kissed by a virgin. So that kind of already sets the tone of a kiss by a female virgin, to be specific. And so the way this anime kind of plays out is, there's this town, there's this city that's under attack, and of course, this boy that's got the spirit sealed within him lives there, and his best friend, who happens to be a little bit older than him in age, was this trained person whose sole purpose was, at the time that they meet him, she's supposed to kiss this boy and release the spirit of this wizard to help them. And the way the anime starts out, obviously this town's under attack by goblins and creatures and all this kind of stuff. And she ends up having to kiss the boy, and they release this wizard, and he's everything that they thought he would be, except he really doesn't want to help them because they were the ones that sealed him away to begin with. However, it takes an interesting twist because he ends up caving and helping everybody in the town out because inside the boy, he has this affection for the girl that he grew up with that was kind of the key holder for his spirit. So he ends up helping out anyways, but only for her sake. And as the series goes on, that bond, we find out, doesn't matter too much, and the seal starts to weaken a little bit, meaning that it's a fight between the young boy and the older wizard, and which personality kind of wins there. And who, what happens is the little boy transforms into the bigger wizard you see with the long hair there. What was kind of cool was, as the series progresses, you see the boy less and less. However, the affection that the boy has and the boy's mannerisms start to show up in the older wizard. So while he may be evil and he's kind of like, he's very kind of misogynistic at times and everything like that, they did a very good job with the darkness of the anime as well. So he's very much like, I'm only helping you because it helps me take over the world, and I'm going to kill you whether you're a good guy or a bad guy if you get in my way. So very dark in that manner, but they have a lot of themes like from Inuyasha, where you have Kagome that has this upper hand always over Inuyasha. They have scenes where they portray the wizard with like these dog ears, and it looks just like Inuyasha in a lot of the scenes where, she puts the smack down on him, or, careful, or I'm going to seal you away again because you're being obnoxious or whatever. But you end up finding he has a lot of these sexual type relationships with all these women that he comes across. So it becomes like this harem type anime after a while, and you're like, what is going on? So it's just really interesting. I thought from Netflix's perspective, they would put something out that was kind of racy in that manner, but I guess, that's something they're exploring. But it was still like a 10 out of 10. I still ended up watching them about 18, 20 episodes through, and it's about 25 to 30 episodes, typically 24, that you run into. But it was very much, it's not for kids. It is not for kids, not in one way, not one bit. But it's definitely an adult anime. But it's definitely entertaining.
Where's it streaming?
Netflix.
Netflix.
Oh, Netflix. Okay.
Yeah, Netflix produced one. Again, great soundtrack. It's all about long hair for the guys and the women. A little bit of fanfare, a little bit of everything. It's pretty good.
So I actually got through the first episode of that a while back, and I didn't continue even though the animation style was cool because the dialogue just got so cheesy. And I know anime is not known.
The dialogue, yeah.
Like, I know a lot of anime is not like the most profound dialogue, but there's a level.
Mm-hmm.
There's a level of good dialogue that you kind of expect. And I don't know, maybe I'll give it another try since Chris is praising it, but
yeah, I would give it.
It felt like they were being lazy on the dialogue a little bit.
I would give it another shot because there are, the way it starts out is a little bit slow. So I felt kind of the same. I had actually watched the first episode about 2 or 3 months ago, and then didn't come back to it. And then restarted it again the other day, and then just kept watching it, and actually got better and better. So I feel like it was maybe a poor pilot, if you will, to start the series. But if you keep going, it actually gets better in terms of the characters that you meet. Some of the interesting things that happen that I won't spoil for people if you do decide to watch it, because the surprises are kind of what makes it. as well as how some of the characters develop and grow over time. So, but so far, what the theme seems to be is, we're starting to see the original boy who the soul was sealed in, less and less. So it comes into question as to who's in control of the wizard, and ultimately, what does the end game look like? Because he maintains that the only reason he's helping anybody out is it only helps him get to control the world at the end. There'll be no one left standing if he just eliminates all his enemies, and then he'll take over the world. It's kind of been his whole thing. So the question is he still that person, or is he different? So how much of the boy remains in that personality to maybe save them? Because there's nothing to stand between him, as he used to be, the evil sorcerer or the evil wizard. There's nothing to stand between them. He could kill them all right now if he wanted, and he knows that. So, but yeah, he ends up probably with about 4 or 5 different women by the time, up to the episode I'm at, who all in some ways have some kind of relationship with him, including one that is his daughter and his lover.
What?
Yeah, that's a thing too. So, yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's like I said, it's very interesting. Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah.
Rated R for sure. I don't know what the rating is.
Yeah,
God damn it, anime.
That's not for the kids. No.
It's recommended viewing. You liked it?
Yeah, if you're in anime, you're looking for something new. There is that was the first season. It was appreciated enough where Netflix is doing a second season this year.
Yeah, Chris, for a guy like me, okay, who's all into the intertextuality, what would you compare it to? What's the intellectual legacy of the bastard?
Ooh.
It's a cartoon. Come on.
You want to talk about cartoons? I'll talk about cartoons all day.
Yeah, no, it's I'm finding it hard to compare it to much, because Netflix is their own. What interested me in it is because I don't have a lot to compare it to in the direction that they're going with it, and the theme of this heavy metal dark fantasy. It's just, those 4 words really depict what this is, and I don't have a lot to compare it to. Everyone kind of picks heavy metal or dark or fantasy or what have you. This is a combination of all of it.
How would you compare it to, say, Vampire Hunter D?
Better.
Oh wow.
Yeah, better. Yeah, because Vampire Hunter D, you won't have. That's actually great. You brought that one up. So that one's a pretty good classic in terms of a dark fantasy, and probably one of the better vampire even films that are out there, I think. This is better in the aspect of the story. They bring in comedy. You don't really have that in Vampire Hunter D. You have a couple of quips and whatnot. But I put this above Vampire Hunter D. If you're looking for more of a longer term series, a little bit more magic involved, and if you're into waifus and harems, and like I said earlier, like kind of like a horny anime, it's interesting to spin on things. Really is.
Yeah, so if you cross heavy metal and Vampire Hunter D, you're in.
Yeah, and again, they bring in themes from other animes that are widely known out there. So like sealing a dark spirit within a boy is kind of like a Naruto type thing to do. That's where they had the 9 tails sealed into with him. You have the Inuyasha theme. Then you also have, it basically took a lot of different genres from anime and then pulled it into this one dark fantasy series. So they do poke fun at themselves. They do weird things with the animation. It's clearly a jab at different genres. So it's intelligent. It is.
Right. Good to know. Jenna, you looking even more forward to watching it now?
I don't know.
The whole
everybody.
daughter lover thing.
Yeah, you had me at with the daughter mother thing. So
Okay, so yeah, and to be clear, she's not. This girl is technically, she is a grown woman at the time that this is going down. What had happened was she's not technically his daughter. He was a
Oh,
little
okay.
girl that came across that he didn't end up killing and ended up raising. But then when she was old enough, they ended up having this weird romantic relationship with each other or whatever. But
Okay, as long as there's no blood relation
"You're
here.
my daughter and my lover" was something that he literally says in there, and it's intentional because it's awkward to say, and they say it in front of other people to where they're like, "Wait, what?" And that speaks to like it's very intentionally done, you know. So yeah, it's not a literal as much as it is
So
like
it's not an incestual thing.
So
Yeah.
kind of like Grover Cleveland or Woody Allen. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. That's yeah.
Can
So,
somebody
yeah,
please? Can somebody please tell me why anime all it is scantily clad females?
it's not all
It's
scantily
not
clad
all,
females. It's a
only,
genre
like-
of anime.
It's only
We just happen to talk about a lot of them that are, but it's not. There are literally some that are made like if you take Trigun, for example, is nothing of the sorts of that. And Trigun is more of a post-apocalyptic type world, you know, where people were fighting over energy and water and things like that. And it's like you know, it's just an action type anime. So there's a lot of different genres out there, but it's not just that. And I brought this up actually when we talked about Anime Nebraska.
Mhm.
When we were out there on the floor, I mentioned how there was a lot of art that was just scantily clad
Mhm.
women and half-dressed women, whatever. But that's not the broadness that anime covers.
But it
So-
seems like that's a lot of it.
well, that's what
Again,
sells a
that's
lot of merchandise.
Yeah, that's a perception and that's a merchandising thing, and it's
That's
what
the
it's what
12-year-old
sells.
boys buying stuff.
We'll wait until we have another episode where we talk about AI and what's going to go on with a lot of that. So,
Ugh.
but anyways, yeah, I disagree with that. I get it, Linda, but it is like anime is very much broader. I mean, my library of anime is so broad, but this is a funny kind of area to dive into, and it is more prominent, but it's not all of it. You've got your mechas, your Gundam wings, and all that kind of stuff where women are like, and a lot of times you can't even tell the difference between the women and the men. Like it's very much
Interesting.
unisex in theme, and it's just, you know, they all kind of look the same because that's not the focus of the anime.
All right.
So
All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you all for tuning in for this episode. We hope you enjoyed what we had to talk about. Hope you get out there and see Cocaine Bear and check out Bastard also if you're inclined to. We might check it out, Linda.
Bill and I have to check that
at least
out
2 or 3
alone in
episodes.
his basement.
Yeah. We'll try maybe the first 3 episodes. We're still trying to work through Vox Machina.
You go right ahead.
I mean, Linda, if you want me to address that in a more vague way, this is something I in fact, I sent this video to the group. What we've seen a lot of it. This is because I just watched a video that really pointed this out. Is that a lot of your mainstream theatrical films these days have almost no sex or even really very much romance at all, because that's got to appeal to the broadest possible denominator. So you've got to keep these movies less likely to be objected to by parents. Okay, for whatever reason, our society, violence is less objectionable than sex or nudity.
Right.
So what's happened instead is that sexual content has kind of made its way to the more liminal genres. So when you have like the streaming television epics and things like that are more mid budget range, that's where you're going to see that sort of content. So that might answer your question somewhat, that you're seeing it there because it's been pushed out of other media. That probably doesn't answer your question, but it may address it in some small scintilla.
All right. Well, again, thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time. We'll be talking about Megan, the robotic horror film. So take care. Thanks for tuning in, and leave us a comment below. If you watched Cocaine Bear, what did you think of it? Would you want to have been Cocaine Bear if you had the choice? I guess. All right. Take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.